Brothers, let's talk about something every man has experienced, but very few have the words to describe. You've been there. Everything is peaceful, calm, and simple. Then out of nowhere, she starts poking, prodding, testing, stirring up arguments over nothing. She turns silence into suspicion, turns your calm into a problem, and then looks at you like you're the one who broke the peace. And when you finally react, she says, "Why are you so angry? Why can't you just relax?" This is one of the most manipulative games in modern relationships. Women will create the storm, then complain that you're not standing still in the middle of it. It's a psychological trap men need to understand. And today, I'm breaking it down into 7 bitter truths. Truths most men learn too late, after being drained, emasculated, or left questioning their own sanity. Let's get into it. Point 1. She thrives on emotional stimulation, even if it's negative. Here's the hard truth. Women are addicted to emotional stimulation. If things feel too calm in a relationship, she'll create drama just to feel alive. A peaceful man is not always seen as a blessing. Sometimes he's seen as boring. She'll bring up your past, question your loyalty, or start nitpicking things she ignored yesterday. You might hear her say things like, "Why don't you ever get jealous?" Or, "You don't seem passionate about us anymore." Translation: things feel too calm, so I need to create chaos to feel desired. Most men don't catch this pattern. They think something's wrong with them. But no, she's feeding an emotional need. And here's the kicker. When you finally react, she'll accuse you of being unstable. She created the chaos, but she frames you as a problem. That's how she stays in control. Real example. You're chilling after work, just trying to relax. She suddenly says, "So, who were you really texting earlier?" Even though she saw it was your boss. You defend yourself, tension rises, and then she says, "See? You're always so defensive." Brothers, that's a setup. Point 2. She tests your masculinity by poking at your patience. Understand this. Many women test men not by asking direct questions, but by creating situations where patience wears thin. She wants to know, are you the calm, controlled leader she can respect? Or are you a ticking time bomb? This is why she'll start arguments over small things. Why she'll push buttons she already knows irritate you. She wants to see if you'll break, or if you'll stay unshaken. But here's the twisted part. Even if you stay calm, she might call you emotionless or cold. And if you snap, she calls you toxic or angry. Either way, she wins. This is female psychology at its most confusing. She creates a lose-lose trap, and the average man falls right into it. That's why so many brothers feel drained and confused in relationships. You're constantly being tested with no reward. Example, you tell you'll be home at 8. You walk in at 8:15. Instead of appreciating that you still came home to her, she says, "If you love me, you would have been here earlier." Then when you defend yourself, she says, "Why are you raising your voice?" "I just wanted to talk." Classic bait. Point 3. Chaos gives her control over the narrative. Let's be real. When she creates chaos, she controls the storyline. If she can get you flustered, she controls how the argument looks and feels. If you lose your composure, she gets to say, "See? You always overreact. You're the problem." Chaos is her way of rewriting reality. Even if she started it, the moment you react, you become the villain. And that's why so many men walk away from arguments feeling guilty, even when they didn't do anything wrong. Think about it. When was the last time you argued with a woman and she said, "You know what? You're right. I started this fight for no reason." Exactly. Almost never. Why? Because once the storm starts, she has no incentive to calm it down. Chaos gives her leverage. It gives her sympathy from outsiders. It lets her play the victim while you look like the aggressor. Brothers, this is why so many men are labeled angry or controlling. They're not. They just got dragged into chaos and didn't play it cool enough to avoid the trap. Point 4. She wants proof of your investment, even through conflict. Here's the part most men don't see. Sometimes she creates chaos just to see if you'll fight for her. In her mind, your anger or frustration is proof that you still care. If you remain calm or detached, she interprets that as indifference. This is why you hear women say things like, If you didn't care, you wouldn't argue with me. Or at least show some emotion. They confuse chaos with passion. To her, conflict equals connection. It's twisted but very real. She'll pick fights over nothing just to reassure herself that she still matters to you. And this is dangerous, because it turns your peace into a constant battlefield. Instead of building trust, she's feeding off arguments. And the more you give in, the more she'll use chaos as a tool to measure love. Example, you ignore her silent treatment and stay unbothered. Instead of appreciating your maturity, she accuses you of not caring. If you finally engage and argue back, she smirks like she won. Brothers, that smirk is not love. It's victory in a game you didn't even know you were playing. Point 5. She plays the victim while holding the knife. Here's one of the most bitter truths men refuse to accept. Many women master the art of playing the victim while being the source of destruction. She can insult you, disrespect you, dig at your insecurities, and even start an argument out of nowhere. But the second you react, suddenly you're the problem. She'll throw out lines like, "Why are you yelling? You're scaring me," even though she was the one who pushed you there. And society will back her, because the world sees women as fragile and men as aggressive. But here's the game. She doesn't want calm resolution. She wants chaos, because chaos gives her control. By flipping the script and painting herself as the wounded angel, she robs you of your masculine ground. If you've ever walked away from an argument feeling like the villain when you were just defending yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's not misunderstanding. That's manipulation. Point 6. She pushes your boundaries, then calls you insecure. Another brutal truth. Women test you by pushing your limits. She'll flirt with guys in front of you, joke about exes, or post revealing pictures online, all while calling it harmless. But the moment you check her or draw the line, she labels you insecure or controlling. This isn't about freedom. It's about power. She wants to know if you'll tolerate disrespect and still stay. Men get trapped because they think speaking up makes them jealous or toxic. But in reality, it's the opposite. A man who enforces his boundaries earns respect. The trap is when you start doubting yourself because she framed your masculinity as insecurity. That's how she wins. Remember this. The man who tolerates everything will eventually lose everything, including himself. Point 7. She gaslights you into questioning reality. When a woman wants to maintain chaos, she'll use gaslighting like a weapon. She'll deny what she said, even when you know word for word. She'll twist arguments until you question your own memory. She'll say things like, "That never happened," or "You're imagining things," until you start believing maybe you are overreacting. This is not just toxic, it's psychological warfare. And here's the bitter pill. The longer you stay in that cycle, the more your confidence erodes. You'll feel drained, confused, and weaker than you ever thought possible. And that's exactly where she wants you, because a man who doubts his own reality is a man she can control. Brothers, if you've ever felt like you were losing your mind in a relationship, that wasn't love. That was a trap. This is a reality. She creates chaos, then asks why you're not calm, because chaos is her battlefield, and calmness is where men win. The moment you stop falling for these tactics, you reclaim your ground as a man. Don't play her game. Step out of it. Stand firm in who you are. Brothers, if this truth hit you hard, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, like, comment, and share this with other men, your brothers, your friends, even your sons, because the truth will set men free.